welcome back, everybody, to the Just One More Level podcast. I'm your co-host, Christian.
And I am your co-host, John.
Stumbling over my words a little bit there. This week, we have played a little bit of a very interesting game. One of our viewer requests, Prey.
Yep.
And not only was it a viewer request, just a quick shout out here at the beginning, I would also like to say it was a poll winner. So, of course, hop on over to our website and check out the poll. We update it roughly every month, and you can vote on games you'd like to see us play. But, John, I know that you really got into this one.
I did. Yep.
So would you like to talk a little bit about it?
I would love to. My goodness. I played over an hour. I played about an hour and 20 minutes, which is saying something because I played the demo.
Yes.
Christian and I don't own this one. Which we forgot about when we put it on the poll. So we didn't own this one, and we weren't able to pick it up in time, so we just played the demo because we figured that would work well enough for what we're doing here. Our gimmick is playing an hour of a game. We figured the demo would probably span that time frame. So
it actually ended up spanning more than an hour, as long as you're not rushing through it, at least. So highly suggest, even if you don't think it's your sort of game, it's a free demo. Like, just do it. Like, check it out.
Yeah, try this out. I had
kind of skipping to the end here, but I
had a ton of fun with the mechanics. Like, this game in its description on Steam sounds similar to Alien Isolation. You're in space at some point. Spoilers, I guess. It's a demo. You're in space at some point, and there's some kind of alien contagion or something like that loose. And you have to fight things off. It's not really like Alien Isolation because there's like individual monsters that you have to fight and different things like that. But it has that setting to it. You know, an abandoned space station that's in a state of disrepair. It has this kind of retro punk theme to it.
It's not quite an abandoned space station, though. I mean, so in the demo, it's the very beginning of the game. Whenever you load up into it, you are some sort of research subject. And they have you going through these different tests. And at first, it seems like they're having you go through these tests because they're going to ship you off to, I believe it's a moon in their solar system. And so you're just going through these tests. But then as you get to the end, all of a sudden, everything goes awry. One of the doctors or scientists or whatever that you're answering questions for suddenly gets attacked by a creature that morphed from a coffee cup. And so you kind of like black out after that, and then everything kind of just starts over again. Exactly as it was. Like, what's that, Groundhog Day style, right? You just wake up in bed again, and everything's completely back to normal. But this time you get a call telling you to, well, you leave your room, I guess, first, and you see that things aren't quite right. There's, if I'm not mistaken, the lady that was out in the hallway is now dead. Am I remembering correctly?
Yep.
And then, so you see her dead, and then you get this call explaining that you need to get out, that things aren't as they seem. So then you that's kind of the premise, right? And then that's when everything goes to crap. Is
Christian, I love this intro sequence, by the way. If you happen to be watching the video,
it is amazing
on YouTube. I love it. The effects and graphics look amazing. I love the cheeky developer studios as billboards. And words you can see in the distance now. Again, if you're watching the video, the Arcane Studios production is along the bridge of your town. I think that's brilliant. I love it. It's sleek and it's stylish. It's a great way to start a game. Anyway, continue.
And then the really cool thing is, since you're actually in a compound, you're not actually flying around on a helicopter, but your character doesn't know this. They show you then later how they achieved this effect, at least, you know, in the world sense. I don't know how they did it from a real world sense, but from an in-game perspective, they had a helicopter rigged up on an arm so that it could tilt and lean and whatnot. And then giant video screens, basically, that went around the entire helicopter. So it was all just an illusion. Everything is an illusion, and until you break out. And so then you break out and you start making your way through this space station or whatever it is, and there's dead people that you find here and there. And eventually you start coming across these alien creatures yourself, what they call mimics. And mimics can turn into anything, which is kind of the big gimmick of the game. And one of the things that I think makes it the most interesting is you'll just be walking around looting stuff and whatnot, and then all of a sudden a coffee cup will transform into a mimic and start attacking you.
Right.
Or something else that I think is really cool is every once in a while they'll try to run away from you, and so like they'll run away, and as soon as they get around a corner out of view, they'll pick an object and turn into it. So then if you weren't paying attention, you don't quite know what's real and what's a mimic. It's very cool. And then later on you run across like more powerful creatures and things too. But I honestly, from what I've seen, I think the mimics are kind of the most interesting of the creatures.
Yeah. I had a ton of fun just picking things up in my environment and throwing them.
Yeah, you'll see in the footage if we get that far that I did the same thing. Yeah.
Because it has a similar mechanic to like Amnesia, where you can pick things up and then carry it around your environment and then hold it in front of you and you can throw it. And that was just that was so entertaining for me. I could have done the whole hour just doing that for some reason.
I actually had to, in my footage, I had to edit my footage before the podcast because I spent so much time just screwing around that I was like, okay, this footage is actually kind of boring. It doesn't get into the meat and potatoes of it, you know? So I actually did have to like go in and cut out a couple parts or fast forward through some different parts because, like I said, I did the same sort of stuff. I just ended up screwing around a lot. It was a lot of fun to screw around in it. You're right about that, for sure.
Yeah. But so getting back into it, so you go through these tests, you break out of your simulation because you get some kind of outside contact, and then you start exploring this space station.
Yeah.
And I love like the RPG elements that are added into it. You get to collect an inventory full of stuff, which you can craft into things later in the game. You get cybernetic upgrades for your suit and for your brain. So you have a skill tree that you can flesh out to give you different abilities. Again, later on in the game, I only unlocked, I think, 2 or 3 in my time playing because of all of the collectibles that I found. So, that I thought that was a really unique touch because I'm going to compare it again to Alien Isolation. In that game, you can level up, but you can more so level up your equipment. You don't really have any, like a skill tree to flesh out. You can just get upgrades to things that you're carrying, and there is a crafting system. But other than that, it's pretty bare bones because that game was focused on horror. It was focused on the psychological horror of the moment. That is something that Alien has always succeeded in, is being able to take a sci-fi setting and make it terrifying. But this game was much more focused on the sci-fi element of it all, which I thought was really fun. Even though
it has a lot of the psychological thriller sort of stuff with the mimics hiding and the whole Groundhog Day. You don't really know where you are, or technically even who you are. There's some sort of mind wipe stuff going on.
Right. But that to me felt more Twilight Zone than like traditional horror film.
Okay.
It felt like because Twilight Zone is pretty much a horror show.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
For back in the day, like most of the situations that you found yourself in the Twilight Zone were terrifying situations. Like the guy that just wanted to read. That's all he wanted to do is read books, and then he was the survivor of nuclear war, and he had time enough to read it last because there were no pressures for society, and then he breaks his glasses.
See, I don't actually remember a single episode of Twilight Zone, but I know horrifying. The premise of the sort of show, but I don't remember any of it. I know I've seen some, but but I don't know. This kind of psychological horror I find really interesting, a lot more than the like the jump scares and things, which this game certainly has some of that too, with the mimics hiding and things like that. I mean, it's kind of inherent to the gameplay having some jump scares, but I find the whole aspect of like not knowing who you are, where you are, what's going on sort of thing much more interesting personally. Just from the story standpoint, from the gameplay standpoint, at least, like you said, the RPG elements that they included and the adventure and how it's just fun to pick stuff up and throw stuff around and whatnot really is what sold the gameplay for me. It's just an awesome setting to explore and have fun in.
Yeah, they took several gameplay elements that I would not have expected from this type of game, and several story elements of different sci-fi tales, You have the alien infestation of some kind, which is parasitic. It infects your mind, or it infects objects around you. The mimic, that's a fantasy type of thing. You have this kind of like sleeper agent storyline going on. Like
Right.
you're clearly part of this bigger story. You're part of this organization, and you have special talents and abilities that you unlock as you find things and as you need them. So you have all of those elements together, and then you have all of these wonderful elements of different games, like being able to pick stuff up and throw it, and craft things, and skill trees, and combat, which feels very satisfying. It reminded me a little bit, and I know this is a stretch, and it's a big stretch.
Castlevania.
No. I'm doing a split here. This stretch is so big, but it reminded me a little bit of 2016 Doom.
I haven't actually got to play that game yet, to be honest with you.
So let me explain.
Please do. Yeah.
Doom. Okay, so in Doom, it's Doom, obviously.
Right.
You're fighting demons, not aliens, but they're creatures. And what's good about Doom is you can do like visceral critical kills once you get close enough to an enemy, or once you weaken them enough.
Yeah, I'm following you.
And that's something that you could do with the wrench with the mimics. Like you could swipe the wrench, you could hold the button to charge the wrench, or if you like get close enough to it, it just triggers like an animation. So you just like crunch it underneath of your feet. You don't stomp on it, but you like take the wrench and just slam it down, and then slam your wrench back up, and it just explodes everywhere. I don't know if you got to experience that, but it's one of my favorite parts.
Like in video, but like I said, I haven't actually played the game, so
okay, yeah. So you can that's just kind of like a combo kill. Like if you get 2 good hits without it hitting you, your last hit is what really kills it. So I thought that was really cool. It's fast, it's responsive. Like I praised Alien Isolation for days, and I still will. I would still play the whole game, but it's slow moving in most parts. There's not really like a sprint function. There's not a lot of like fast, sleek movements, but this game definitely has that. It feels very responsive, very quick. It's really fun to do things. And I just feel like that's so complimentary to the type of game that it is. And my favorite part. Do you know what my favorite part is?
What's your favorite part?
My favorite part. When you're exploring the space station, okay? You can choose to go off to the side into this little room where they have like a museum set up. It's like the history of the space station, okay? And in this alternate timeline, you are on Earth right now. And John F. Kennedy was never assassinated.
So that's kind of where all these advancements came from, was like the butterfly effect of him not being assassinated. Okay.
Right.
That's cool.
In this alternate timeline, JFK was never assassinated. So since he wasn't assassinated in 63 and 64, he brokers a deal with the Soviets to start this space mission program. And that starts the initial building of the station. And it said JFK actually lives all the way up to 2031, even though he was born in 1917, because of these neurological advancements that they make.
Right.
See, when you...
Because that's how you get the powers in this game. I know John quickly mentioned it, but just to bring it up again, there have been significant improvements in this game's world to medical technology as well, not only space travel and things like that, but it's actual neurological like stimulants that you can kind of... It's almost like how it works in BioShock, right? Where you just kind of like shoot yourself up with these powers. It's a similar sort of thing to that, right? It's a easy to install biological enhancements that work on the brain. So not only space, but also medical, just technological advancements in general, I guess. Really, it's just much more technologically advanced civilization than what you would expect otherwise. But I'm sorry, go ahead and continue.
No, so so through your biological enhancements, like you mentioned, I noticed when I was filling out my skill tree, I decided to level up my health first. I wanted more health because I wanted to be able to take more hits. So I leveled up my health, and I was clicking on the different things that you can level up in. And the first upgrade increases your health bar to 125 instead of 100. And it increases your overall lifespan by 25 years. And then the second one, it mentions it increases it by 50, and the third one increases it by 75. So
that's interesting little flavor text. I mean, I guess it has no significant impact on gameplay, but
right. So obviously JFK took part in some of
his
these
health.
enhancements.
Yeah.
He increased his health, and he was able to live this huge lifespan of 120 years or whatever it was. But I just thought that was so interesting. It has these exhibits and these like panels that you can look at, and it lights up like a museum and reads to you. And it explained how in like between 1980 and 1994 they built this huge station, and I didn't know you could break that mirror. I broke the fish tank and crawled through it, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, for anybody watching the video, right around here is whenever you first break out and see the world for what it is. And to me, that was probably the coolest moment of the game, is whenever I got the call and was told to break out, and then I broke the glass in my apartment, or what I thought was my apartment, and it just shatters, and it turns out that you're just in a lab. And then as you explore around, you find out that the entire time you've been playing up until that point, you've been in this lab. Like, you never left. You never flew through this city to another building. You never went through the elevator that you're on. Is just, it's fake. Everything's fake. It's one giant stage.
Right.
And that was my favorite part from what I've played of the game so far. I thought that was pretty sick.
Right.
And also Half-Life shout out with the I mean, I know it's a crowbar in Half-Life, but it makes me think of it when you get the wrench here in this game. And that kind of brings me to another thing that I thought a lot while playing this game, was that this is the best Dead Space game I've ever played. Just because that's kind of with the whole setting. You go to Alien Isolation, I go to Dead Space, because that's the space game series that I've played. And
well, I've heard a lot of comparisons there too. Like I've heard a lot of people compare like Alien Isolation to Dead Space, just for that generic reason. You know, you're in space, you're fighting things.
Right.
It's horror. It's horror adjacent. At the very least. So yeah, I've heard that too. But I've always wanted to play Dead Space. So if this is like Dead Space, I'd be interested in that for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Dead Space in the same sense that Alien Isolation is Dead Space, where it's you're in space and there's aliens that you're fighting and stuff like that. Dead Space is more geared towards horror and the first person shooter aspect. It's more geared towards that than this game. This game seems to be more about the exploration and RPG elements, with the horror and shooting kind of coming second. But yeah, no, it's I love those kinds of mechanics. So taking those sort of mechanics and then putting them into a Dead Space like psychological horror sort of thing just kind of tickled all my fancies. Like, and that's why the thought just kept popping into my head. Like, this is the best Dead Space game that that I've ever played. So
it's so good. Thank you, Seth, for recommending this. If you're listening, if you're on the stream, if you're watching the video, thank you for recommending this, because this was genuinely one of the most fun experiences I can recall upon in like playing a brand new game for the first time. Like I had a ton of fun experiencing this. This was just a great time. Yeah, high praise for real. I really enjoyed it. I will probably buy it and play the rest of it. Yeah, for sure.
I plan on
sure
as well.
Just one more level.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I actually played the demo a while back, probably a year or two ago, and I just never got around to purchasing the game. But I fell in love with it whenever I played the demo the first time. So this just kind of reaffirmed to me that I need to purchase the game myself and play through the entire thing, because it's a ton of fun. It's great. Definitely would play just one more level.
Right. And see, that's the thing. Like, a ton of indie games that are popular or have been for the past nearly a decade have emulated this kind of style. You know, this you're in some kind of facility or bunker or building, and you're trying to find clues, and they're hidden in left behind documents and emails, and you're trying to piece all this stuff together, and you find codes, and these monsters chase you, and you have to use usually stealth to escape the monster, but sometimes combat. I can think of like not off the top of my head, but a dozen examples or so of games that are similar to this, like the SOP series, and just a ton of different indie horror games that have come out that I always enjoy watching. But this is mixing the super satisfying controls and gameplay elements with that kind of storyline. So you have that storyline of the sleeper agent soldier that doesn't remember things, and all of the sci-fi elements, the aliens, the creatures, the physical augmentations, the virtual reality, everything. You have all of those popular elements of horror franchises and sci-fi franchises mixed with super precise, satisfying gameplay. I didn't see this game break once. Like,
no, I had a couple issues, and if you watch the video, you may notice some like flashing and black squares popping up and stuff like that. Okay. I did just want to point out at some point that wasn't actually the fault of the game, though. I had overclocked my graphics card, and while I didn't have any problems with it previously, for whatever reason, this game specifically started triggering some problems with my overclock. So I had to turn down my overclock, and after I did that, there was no more problems with the game at all. No sorts of breaks at all in the time that I spent with it.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm running this on some old software, some dated software by this point. Well, not software, hardware. I'm running it on a 970 GTX 970. And what do you call it? A Ryzen
5 3600, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, which isn't old, but it's not like the most.
Yeah, powerful. The processor's not old, but it was mid-range from last gen, and then the graphics card is like 8 years old at this point, something like that.
Like 3 generations behind at least.
Yeah.
So it's some older tech, but like especially for a demo, usually demos are like just a little broken or like not the full scope of what the game is, but this genuinely feels like the whole first chunk of the game. They just chopped off the first part of the game and plopped it.
From what I can tell, it is legitimately. Like I tried to look up some differences between the demo and the full game just to make sure we weren't missing anything major, and it turns out that the only real difference that I could find without actually buying the game and playing it myself to compare is that there's some locked doors and stuff in the demo, whereas there's just more open area for you to explore in the full game from the get-go. That sort of thing. So this is just a little bit more linear, basically, than what the full game is. That's the only difference that I saw from what I've seen online, from what I was able to find online, at least.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, but that's, I mean, just wow.
Yeah.
Genuinely wow. High praise to the developers. I'm sure you've heard it already. Developers, if by some miracle you're watching this or listening, I'm sure you've heard it already, because this is what, 2017?
I believe 2018, so, yes.
Something like that. So it's been out for a while, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this if you're into these types of games, and I'm sure the developers have heard it all.
And just real quick, while we're on the topic of the developer, they have made some other really highly praised games as well. The Dishonored series, another game series that I've been wanting to play, and they actually have I believe it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive coming out here soon as well. Deathloop.
Okay.
It's called. So another very interesting looking game that they have coming out here soon. And I mean, we don't have access to a PlayStation 5, but most of their games come out on PC, so who knows? Maybe we'll cover Deathloop here soon.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to. I'd love a PS5, you know.
Right. Yeah. If anybody wants to send us a PS5, you know, whatever. Yeah. Hey, we'll take bribes.
Yeah, send it on over. Yeah.
Or donations. Sorry, not bribes.
Yeah, donations. We'll post a PO box. Just let us know.
Yeah, just email us. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. Links in the description. Send us a PS5. That'd be great if you want to do a reverse giveaway for a channel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, Christian, just yes.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah,
all of the levels.
Whole
game.
Levels. Yeah.
I want to complete it. I want to get to know it intimately. I want to break it. I want to code break it. I want to go out of bounds. I want to play all the levels. Yes.
Just one more thing before we completely wrap up, because I just thought of it watching the video.
Okay.
One of the really cool things about having the mimic in my mind was every time I saw two objects sitting next to each other or relatively close to each other, I automatically started to worry, like, is one of them a mimic? And so like I would spend the extra time like attacking them or trying to pick them up or whatever, just to make sure that one of them wasn't a mimic, one of them wasn't going to try to kill me. And it's just those little psychological things that like I said, I kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but yeah, that's what I really love horror wise.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
really
I don't know where the were you into the demo, but I ended edited it after you get to your office on the space station and you watch a video of yourself.
I didn't quite make it that far. I did make it to the larger space station, or whatever you want to call it. I did make it there, but I never ended up finding my office. So
yeah, so I explored around a little bit. I did some upgrading and some reading. I read all the documents and emails I could find.
Same, yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So
interesting little lore tidbits. It adds to the world.
Yeah, and really cool too. Like path choosing. Like you can choose to unlock that safe, or you can choose to find the key card. The key card is a little bit more dangerous because you have to fight some mimics, but you know.
And that's one of the things that their other game, Dishonored, was really known for as well. Was because in Dishonored you play. I've never played the games, but I know my brother absolutely loved them. But essentially, if I'm not mistaken, you play like an assassin in Dishonored, and so you kind of get to choose if you want to be like if you want to resolve these things more peacefully, or if you just want to kill everything, and then how you get there to each goal point and things like that. So that's kind of Arcane Studio style, it seems. The freedom of choice and being able to play your way.
Right. Okay. But yeah, so ton of fun. Wow.
Ton of fun. Yeah.
Ton of fun. Would 10 out of 10 would play again.
Yeah, for sure.
But
couldn't agree more.
That is all we got for now for Prey here. You know, if our idea ever comes to fruition in the future, we've sort of around the idea of having our own little series where we complete games and then do a complete review of the game. If that ever comes to anything, I would love for this to be one of those titles. Let us know on Facebook, on the group, on the page, on our website. Email us, whatever you like.
Yeah, whatever.
Comments. Let us know if that's something you would like to see. And that leads me into one of our final points. Christian, where can we find us?
Yeah, so I mean, the easiest place to find us is in the description of whatever you're on, whether it's whether it's like YouTube, your podcast platform of choice, whatever. There's links down below where you can find the various places that John and I do our stuff, as well as links to other places where we do stuff together, like our website, Facebook, etc. So check out the links below, and thank you guys for joining us this week. We definitely appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed.
All right, and thank you everybody so much for turning up on the channel and for listening on your podcast provider of choice, because you don't have to, but you do, and we appreciate it. Until next time.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.